Bitrefill podcast. This time we'll talk about digital nomadism. So something that crypto and Bitrefill can help you achieve in life if that's something that you want to do. So here at Bitrefill, there's a lot of digital nomads that are traveling the world using crypto and just discovering life in a really nice way, working remotely. I'm personally a digital nomad myself, as my friend Rémi and Hubert. So can you please, guys, tell a little bit about yourselves? Where do you live now? Where are you from originally? So people have a context for the discussion.
So I'm currently the CTO at Bitrefill, so mostly managing the tech team and everything tech in the company. I've been living out of France. I'm originally from France, but I've been living out of it for now 8 years or 9 years. Kind of forgot the count now. I lived for quite a while in Sweden, Stockholm, and I'm now living in Barcelona, Spain. But I've been also traveling around with the company, with other company, lived a couple of months in New Zealand, in Thailand. So yeah, I've been around a bit. I don't do pure nomadism. I try to have a base spot where I stay for quite a while. But yeah, I've been traveling a bit.
And so about me, I'm originally from Paris, from France. Bitrefill is the first. It's the first job, basically. The job I have at Bitrefill is the first one I've had that's remote, that allows me to work remotely and not in an office. It had been a goal of mine for a long time to be able to work remotely because I just love traveling. I really have the travel bug, the wanderlust, and I was extremely happy to get this job in 2019. Of course, what I didn't expect was that within a couple of months of me joining the company, COVID will lead to a lot of borders being closed, travel being a lot more complex. So I ended up not traveling much until the middle of 2021, when it became safe and authorized again to travel. And since then, I've been visiting about 15 countries. I've been going to India twice, Malaysia, Singapore, lots of European countries, Spain, the Netherlands, Germany many times, Costa Rica as well, and I've been enjoying every minute of this new life.
Nice. Actually, it's funny that you say that you didn't travel during COVID, because that's when I became a digital nomad, because in Canada I really wanted to change the air. So it's the first time I went to Mexico and I discovered that you can actually work in another country and you don't have to stay in the place where you were born, and that's something that is changing. So actually for me it was the opposite. I started traveling and working I was always working from home, but really from another country. That's when for me it happened, I think.
There's a lot of technical jobs where remote work is actually perhaps even a better experience, and perhaps you can be even more productive. For example, if you're a software engineer, the importance of being in the same room as people is perhaps lower than it would be for other jobs, because a large part of your job is going to be about finding, spans of several hours of uninterrupted work where you don't have anyone talking to you. A lot of digital nomads are software engineers, but there's also nowadays more and more people who are not. And Bitrefill is a remote-first company. Out of the 70 or so employees, there's less than 10 that live in Sweden, and only perhaps 5 or 6 who are in Stockholm. So the company it's quite impressive to see a company where really 90% of the workforce almost doesn't work from the same office.
Yeah, I think also, in general, for tech workers, is the rise of the open office and all this large space with everyone in the same room is just detrimental in general to concentration and productivity. So going back home or going back to quiet rooms where we don't have to deal with the constant buzzing noise of an office is also a big help in general for all these jobs where it's just you and a computer at the end of the day. And I'd much rather, even when I was working in offices, people were just messaging me on the computer, so we didn't interrupt each other all the time, because you're not just interrupting the person you're talking with, you're interrupting the whole room every time. And in big offices, it's chaos very quickly.
you guys have a job in tech, so I understand like you really need some deep focus work. But I also think there's some room for other type of remote work. But I feel personally like on the marketing side, sometimes being with other people is actually more helpful because we can do stuff like this. So there's a lot more options to do content. But you're right, as a developer, it's definitely easier to do it remotely. But I heard that actually all the big companies are trying to bring back the workers to the office. I don't know, it was a productivity issue, or have you known anything about that?
I was half expecting that this would happen, that at some point the workforce of most of the big companies, of companies that had not put remote work in their core DNA at first, the way Bitrefill did, I was expecting that most of these companies would be gradually forcing their workforce back in the office. I guess managers probably really like to have just people face to face that they can,
Scream at.
I was looking for something a little bit milder, but yeah, exactly. I mean, I think there's, to be the devil's advocate, I think it's important to have face-to-face meetings from time to time, if only for team building, kind of affinity creation between the coworkers. It's very hard, I think, for people who have never met each other to have an esprit de corps, as we will say in good English, a kind of team spirit, a sense of shared values and community. And that's why Bitrefill has these bonanzas. And we are currently in the middle of one in Valencia in Spain. Basically, it's kind of a Bitrefill tradition, twice a year for the last couple of years, really since before I was there, so since 2017, I suppose. All of Bitrefill employees get together and work together from the same villa or hotel in a more or less exotic or tropical destination.
And party together too.
And
That's
party together.
important part of it.
And so without this bonanza system, it would be very hard, I think, for most of us to have really a sense of knowing the people you work with. We weren't able to do these bonanzas for a year and a half because of COVID. And I think at some point, a lot of people in the company had this feeling that, who am I working with? I see avatars on Slack, I see people on Zoom or Google Meet calls, but I've never met my colleagues. And since our first post-COVID bonanza at the end of 2021.
Where was it?
In Tarifa in Spain,
Okay.
southernmost point in Spain and in continental Europe. And since then, we've been to Stockholm to see the HQ. And that was in June 2022. And then we've been to Costa Rica last December, a bonanza for the ages. So yeah.
Yeah, I was, when you first started, I think I started a few months before, like really not a long time before the first bonanza, and you don't know what to expect, but then you meet such amazing people in the company. You're like, oh, like everybody's so cool, everybody's so open, and really nice company values and everything.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, it's a question of trust. That's why some companies want people to get back to the office, because they can't take in the trust necessary to just be like, people are going to be at home. There is, obviously you're working from home, there is distractions everywhere, as you have your stuff basically, which you don't have in an office, and also you have no one watching you. So if you disappear for an hour, no one will really know. And so I think it's part of it is just like trust that the people will do the right thing, and then they will, and they will be like, they will be there for the hard times, they will be there for the good times, and like everyone grows together. And it at the end of the day, but it's a leap of faith to do, and especially in like more old school traditional management, it's like it's a big leap of faith. It's like that's not what anyone has learned so far. So it is hard to change to that, especially in existing companies that have like a strong culture of the office and there is obviously like as you're saying, it's hard to create the social tissue this way because you don't really see the people. You don't have that option to go for a team lunch every day or just like a coffee, a beer together. It's much harder to create those connections. But I think also some companies have pushed that so far, where it's like you have to be at the beer after work, you have to be always doing things. And that's also pushing people away because they're like, I want my social life to be outside of work and not at work. But they feel pressured into that constant, beer at the office culture kind of. So I think remote work also appeals a lot to these people that are like tired of having to do things with a company all the time.